Well, I'm excited for this today, you guys. Actually, I'm taking something out of Jim's book here. I forgot I created this a while ago, but Jim came on my call, about 2 months ago now, and he had showed up with a PowerPoint presentation. And I forgot I created this a long time ago, really just like for myself, kept it tucked. I actually don't know if I ever used it. So today I'm actually gonna have a PowerPoint presentation for you guys. So I was like, Jim, I need to step up my presentation game and like start using some PowerPoint. So I'm gonna share my screen. Now, with this today, you guys, the purpose of me doing this is the theme, I guess, is to be able to trust the process. You guys, trust the process. Like trusting the process can be so hard at times, right? Because as you're going through the process can suck, right? It's not fun, right? When you're trying to be able to figure something out. It's not fun when you're embracing something that is new and it is hard and you're constantly feeling like, man, am I ever gonna actually figure this out? So today, this is what I'm gonna walk through you guys. You guys have heard it, right? You have heard me share it and talk about it, but maybe you've never actually seen the numbers behind it, right? Behind obviously what I say, what I've said. So this is my first 6 months in the business, you guys. My first 6 months started in July of 2021. This is what it looked. This is what it looked like for me. First month, I first time out dialing July 12th. Well, July 12th, my first time out dialing. I was able to go out there and write a couple apps. Didn't issue, but it did issue in August, right? Like I said, in September is when I came out. In September, I had a big month, right? I hit my slingshot. It was the first month slingshot was a thing. I felt like I was on top of the world. And then, right, moving on, this is what the rest of that year looked like, right? October, I wrote $1,289. You guys, I'm not the best with PowerPoints too, by the way. So if you're looking at this and you're cringing because it's like, oh, Michael, why do you make it look this way? I'm not a tech guy, you guys. I promise you I'm not. My fiance creates all the PowerPoints for our teams. I mustered this one up. So 1289, zero. I don't know how to get rid of that little bar, but none issued that month. But that's what it looked like. First 6 months in the business, $12,000 in submitted business, $11,000 of it issued, one writer. And that one writer was me. I didn't make a lot of money back then, you guys. Like when I first started, it's not a lot of money to be made. $11,000 in issued business. We were at what 70% back then, so not a lot, right? Now this is when it comes down to trusting the process, and I want to share this. I had went back and I looked at when I created this. It was actually in 2024. I created this little presentation. I went back. I found some text messages between me and my upline. Right. One of the things that I talk about in my story a lot is that they would offer me A leads. And at one point, like it was like I was scared to be able to go out there and invest into A leads. I was scared to go out there and buy leads because why? I wasn't seeing the result that I had that I thought I was going to see or I had wanted. Right. And it's really easy to make excuses, right? Especially when you have a problem. You got one or two choices you can make. You can either be an excuse maker or you can be a problem solver. And when you set your mind to problem solving mode, guess what your mind is going to go out there and do? It's going to go out there and solve a problem, right? So send a text to my upline, right? She had asked me if I wanted some A leads. And I was like, hey, I gotta pass on those call-in leads, right? I got some bills to pay, I got my rent. And we had a conference, I guess, coming up back then. And I was like, hey, gotta make sure me and I didn't get down to the conference. So I'm not getting those leads. Right. Not realizing if I just got the leads, I could have went out there and protected a family, which could have made sure my bills were paid, my rent was taken care of, and I could have got to the conference, right? Opposed to constantly in survival mode, right? Then as September progressed, because again, that was the beginning of September, I just came off a month of August where not a lot happened. So I didn't start seeing the fruits of September yet. At the end of September, right, they're offering A leads. Hey, give me all the leads that I can possibly get, right? I am as confident as ever to be able to go out there and make it happen. And these are, you guys may hear me talk about this before, but the highs and lows in this business that we constantly, the roller coaster of emotion that we go on. We're at a bottom, we're in the valley at one point and we don't want to do nothing, right? We're scared of everything, and then we get some wins, and then we go up to the top of the mountain. And we're like, hey, I can conquer the world. Give me every single thing, right? And then moving on, there's no text messages in October. Why? Because October sucked, right? October, I went out there again. I did $1,200 in business. None of that issued, right? I had went back down. I was on that high in September, and I went back down in that valley in the month of October. Where again, that is where you guys have heard me talk about in my story, where I changed up my script, I changed up my process, right? I wasn't really being coachable because I thought I can find a better way. I thought I can find an easier way not realizing the hard way is actually the right way, right, in this business a lot of times. So with that, come November, this is what it looks like, right? When I said, hey, I had to take a bite of that humble pie in the beginning of November. Took a bite of that humble pie. Said, hey, you guys, I'm creating this group chat to be able to hold myself accountable for my goals, right? You can add anybody else that you feel like can benefit from this. And I added my two uplines in there. From there, right, I used to wake up. Again, you guys may have heard about this, maybe you didn't, right? In order, when I talk about problem solving, again, I didn't have money, right? I didn't have any full-time job, nothing like that. I went out there and did Uber. I used to wake up every morning at 3 a.m. to be on the road by 4, right? And I'll be out there pretty much all day, right, for huddles, and then I'll make sure I came home when it came to dialing. So to hold myself accountable, I'll shoot them text messages every morning, right? Hey, I am out on the road, right? And again, this process isn't fun, by the way. Waking up at 3 a.m. to go out there and do Uber and DoorDash and deliver Dunkin' Donuts orders, and seeing this is probably one of the reasons I don't like coffee, you guys. I delivered so much of it in the morning, just to be honest with you. I'm tired of the smell. But with that, that's what I went out in there and did. And my mindset was just to progress. And when you're going through these phases, you guys, when you're struggling in the business, you don't have to set the goal to where you're trying to get to the mountaintop immediately. You just have to set the goal to how can I just be better today than I was yesterday? How can I get a little bit better? How can I push a little bit further ahead? How can I better my position? Whether it's better my position in life, whether it's better my position in this business, how can I do that today? Because I cannot let last week look like this week. Because if I let last week look like this week and I was dissatisfied with last week, well, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to be dissatisfied with this week too. And that is going to be a trend that is going to continue. And eventually it's going to eat away at my mind and I'm probably going to give up and I'm probably going to quit. Right. So, how can you just get a little bit better? So, with that, I sent this very long text message here. I'm gonna abbreviate it here, right? You guys, in my story again, you guys hear me talk about where I booked 15 appointments one week, I booked 12, 13 appointments the next week, and I didn't, and none showed, right? So I sent this text, and again, mindset on the text is what really matters, right? And then mindset on how you look at this business where you have a week where you don't really get what you want out of it or you didn't achieve your goal, right? So I sent them a text, hey, didn't hit my 11:16 at night. I probably just wrapped up doing Uber or DoorDash again, right? Didn't hit my commitment this week of booking 20 appointments, only got to 12. Of those 12, I sat with zero. Totals for the week, 418 dials, 25 contacts, 12 appointments. And it looks like I helped one family in there. I was like oddly excited and optimistic about this upcoming week for some reason. I was like, I can't really explain it, but if that wasn't enough, that means I'm not doing enough. I gotta go out there and do more. I don't know why, but this is very comical to me, and I'm slightly enjoying the struggle. It's making me appreciate all this that much more, and it's got me, I don't know, salivating, I guess is the word, at the mouth about what's on that other side. I think that's why it's funny because you guys, I'm not the best texter as well, by the way. If you read my text, I type them and send them. I do not reread them. If there's errors in there, there's errors in there. Taking action that's making me endure constant failure, but it's also including a welcome change to my life in the form of personal growth. If this were easy, everybody would do it, and that's what makes me smile the widest. Is because I know I'm not everybody. I'm trying, and Zoom, get out of the way. I'm trying to do what where is that? Because I know this looks confusing. I'm actually confused myself. I'm trying to do what only about 20 and however many agents are in and have come and gone within Symmetry have been able to accomplish. That's what these challenges have me laughing while doing deliveries instead of stressing and blaming because I know it's setting me up to be able to handle the success that I see for myself. I'm starting to feel the passion, the dedication, and work ethic that I had for basketball seep over into this, right? You guys, I was really passionate about basketball. And one thing I can tell you is find a way to be passionate about this business. If this business doesn't fire you up every single morning, find out you gotta find your groove, you gotta find your rhythm to where it actually does fire you up. Like I get so excited every day. Is this business gonna throw challenges at me every day? Absolutely. I welcome them because I know I can't live the life or have the business I want without it. So welcome that, but also find the passion. Find where this business is fun, right, for you. Where is that? Is that supporting agents? Is that serving them? Is that going out there and protecting clients? Right? Is that just the natural challenge this is going to throw at you and for you just to be able to constantly sharpen your skills and to be able to grow yourself? Find your passion here. right? Because if you can if you can feel passionate about this business, if you enjoy showing up every single day, guess what's going to happen, right? You are going to get through those tough times. You're going to get through those tough times very easy, right? Continue on, I said, which is astonishing to me, but is getting me super excited to what is achievable with that mindset. This message was only supposed to be a weekly summary. I don't know how it turned into all that. Sorry, yada, 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 right? Moving on. Into the next, like I said, I did not go over this. I created this like a year ago. And like Day had just stepped into the business at that time, right? She had just got her license. She was going through and she was like dialing and all of those things. And I'm going through the struggle. And I know we talk about, hey, don't like you, some folks may be nervous to recruit earlier to be able to bring people on because it's like, hey, what am I going to be able to give them? You guys, I was in the midst of the struggle right here, midst of figuring out, did I know anything? Absolutely not. The only thing I knew that I was good at that time was just, at least in November anyway, was showing up every day, right? When I gave Ide some coaching, right, about that because she was frustrated, I just talked to her about mindset because I was developing my own mindset and getting through that as well. When you start recruiting when you're new, you don't have to teach them all the skills, right? You're like, hey, I feel you. Like, Jim, I understand that was a tough week. Man, I just had a tough week last week as well. This is what I'm doing this week to be able to get through it. Let's go down together. Like, let's figure this out together because I'm in the same boat you are. People need to be able to know that you're just there for them and you're going to be able to go out there and just help lift them up, right? Are you running this race for them, with them, not for them, but with them? Again, you don't need to do all the training. Symmetry is the system. Symmetry has all those building blocks for you already and for that agent to go out there and see success, right? People just need that mental stability at times, and that's all it is. Now, carrying on, right? Again, not gonna go through all these text messages, but again, I'll send these text messages out in the morning. Hey, I was out there. New York in the wintertime, you guys, blizzard, it's snowing all the time. Not an excuse in my mind. I used to send pictures to because for some reason I always feel like people think I'm lying for some reason, so I always gotta send proof. Be like, hey, I'm out on the road making it happen, right? Getting after it. I'll constantly send those text messages and all those things just to let them know I was out there. And again, accountability. I still have accountability to this day, right? It doesn't matter what level you get to, you're never too good to not have accountability anymore. Why? Because we're human and we prefer comfort, right? So, with that, just moving on. Again, these are a bunch of other text messages and all of those things of me just, again, shooting them those text messages in the morning, talking about leads. But this is what it resulted into. By going through that season, in the business, that November and December, when I was going through my learning curve, I had to wake up every single day and go out there and do Uber, where it was not fun. And again, trusting the process. I heard Danny Young say this when I was new. He says, if you do the right things long enough, you will see success, right? And I decided November and December, I was just going to do the right things long enough. I didn't know when it was going to click. And that's one of the hardest parts about this business is we don't know what long enough is at times, right? So this is what it looked like for me, right? Out there producing, I start hitting my flow. Remember, I did 12K in my first 6 months, and then I just started finding my flow, right? I had a really big month in submitted business. Guess what's part of the learning curve? Learning how to become a good underwriter. So I did $38,000 in business and issued half of it. Guess what? I was okay with it. I wasn't dwelling on the negative because, like, I was out there going to make it happen. April was also the first month I started recruiting and doing interviews. Okay. And it just built in all of that momentum. I never let up, right? I kept going out there and learning. I hit team leader. This is when I actually, what is it? End of June when I hit team leader. This is when I text Sarah Reineke and she took 3 weeks to text me back and all those things. And I asked her about culture, right? And I kept just growing and developing from there. And I just added a writer, and just, but I kept my personal production going. Of that $353,000 in submitted business, 280 of that was mine, right? Didn't the team wasn't doing a ton for my team leader and key leader runs. It was my production that got it over the line for that, right? But you got to trust the process. I felt like in 2022, I figured out how to be able to go out there and produce, but I had no clue what I was doing when it came to building and leadership. This was the type of leader that I was in 2022, right? If Jim, you came to me with a problem, I'd be like, well, got to figure it out, right? You gotta figure it out. Like, I don't like, you're not dialing enough. Why aren't you dialing enough? Go out there and dial more, right? That's literally all you have to do. If you go out there and dial more, you'll be able to figure it out. Like I wasn't one, I didn't care about your excuses. Why didn't I care about your excuses? Right? Because I had to not care about my excuses, right? And be able to figure out a way. But I learned you can't necessarily be that way when you're leading others, right? You got to be a little bit more empathetic and personal and build a relationship. Yes, it is as simple as out just going out there and making it happen, but you got to learn how to be able to go out there and communicate effectively. Um, so with that though, right, kept going, and before I hit agency owner, you guys, I never had more than 6 riders, right? Because I wasn't recruiting enough. If there's anything that I can tell you is balance your production and your recruiting to the best of your abilities. Don't go out there and produce and recruit at the same time and then just keep producing and not recruiting, or vice versa. Because if you just recruit and don't produce, you're not going to make any money. You're probably a fail out of the business. But you need to be able to go out there and balance both. But from that work, from trusting the process, not just from production, I was able to go out there and figure out production in 2022, but trusting in the process when it comes to leadership and recruiting in the business, where this is not a ton of results when it comes to building, right? I started building in April and I had at most at the end of the year 6 riders in a month. That can probably feel really deflating. You're probably asking yourself, man, am I doing something right? Am I doing something wrong? Right? What is going on? I thought it was going to be faster than this. You guys, it is never going to be faster than you think it is. Right? It's probably going to take longer than you think it is. Why is it going to take longer than you think it's going to take? Because you have to develop into the person that is actually going to make the business happen. And that's the part that takes a long time, is becoming the person that could actually just run the business. And that's all this was. Whenever I brought a person in, I just looked at it as an opportunity for me to be able to grow. Because wherever I failed the last person, or I maybe didn't coach them, or whatever it may have been enough, I was like, all right, I'm going to make sure I identify those opportunities for me. So going into the next one, the next person I bring in, I'm a little bit better for that person. Right? And if you're just getting going to recruiting, look at it that way. Right? Everybody's not going to be the person. Everybody's not going to be a rock star. But how can you go be better from person to person that you bring into the business? And then this is what 2023 looked like, right? We went from 353,000 to 1.1 million that year. Never had more than 6 riders, but again, when you do the right things long enough, it's going to hit on all levels, right? And then from there, it just started to be able to take off, right? And there was many things in there that I had to be able to learn along the way, and then I'm still learning. You guys, I'm not the best at, I'm not the greatest at, but for all intents and purposes, 2023 was year 2, right, in the business for me. But the reason I share that again and share all this is just to simply show, like, trust the process, right? It is going to take the time it takes at the end of the day. And I know right now it is really hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel and feel like, man, is this ever going to work? Right? In 2021, where it wasn't working, I could have asked the same question and I could have dwelled on that thought. But one thing that I did know, if I dwelled on that thought and I stayed in that moment, man, is this ever going to work? Then guess what? I know was actually going to happen. Nothing was actually going to change. Nothing was actually going to change that next day, that next month, that next year. If I dwelled on that thought and actually gave into, man, this may not ever work for me. But opposed to breaking that barrier and saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to stick it out. And again, I'm going to trust in the process and I'm going to show up and making sure I'm putting the work in every day. I know what can happen on the other side because there's so many examples here at Symmetry that of people actually doing it. So I wanted to be able to share that just so you guys can see it, because again, when you're new and you're going through it in your first 6 months, your first year, it is hard as heck. But you can get through it. It's not meant to be easy. Right? We can look at anybody's numbers, we can look at anybody's first year, first 2 years. It's not easy. There's things that you have to learn along the way. But with that though, Jim, that's all I got.
Yo, the comments are lighting up, and I'll tell you, I love this so much, is when you see successful people, it can be very easy for those of us, in the audience listening, to feel like they're removed from the struggle, and that the successful people don't see what we're going through. And so having these glimpses of going back to when this was real for you and you were in the grind. I was on the same page with that. I just last night on my team meeting, I titled it like, why not you? But I straight up walked them through Facebook posts of mine from back in starting, like from the day I announced myself on Facebook, January, I think 6, 2022. And I'm standing in my home office and I have my license in front of me. Virginia didn't give me a license. They gave me an NPN online. I created a license on Canva so I would have a prop to hold for a picture with my goofy grin, like, announcing I'm a life insurance agent. Like, I had no idea what to expect. I was scared as anything. And walking through even though I was scared, even though there was nothing guaranteed, there was nothing promised, and the stakes were high, watching the way I thought, the confidence I had that I was gonna win, the recognition of the hard, but the identifying as, I'm like, I'm reading my own posts from back then and I know how unnerving it felt. And I'm like, oh, if I took that name away and just read this, I'm like, that guy's gonna win. That guy's gonna win. He gets it. And I'm like, I got it. Even back then, I got it. And listen, like reading your text message, like to Chris and Andrea, when you're in that, like, I'm oddly excited. I'm like, all I took from that was like, this is a guy that's going to win. He doesn't even know he's going to win yet. He's not even sure. He's still fleshing this thing out. But I can tell he's got that it. He's got that confidence. He's got that knowledge. That's what I want to, if you guys can take anything from this, here's what I want you to take. Winners have this awkward ability to think and act as if their success is absolutely inevitable, all while knowing deep down nothing's guaranteed or promised. And so they live with the fear, but they act fearless. It's when you let the fear take over your activity, you're done. You're done. Walk away. Go quit. You're going to feel the fear. Every one of us feels the fear. The people who are going to win have the ability to act in defiance of the fear with full confidence, as though winning is absolutely inevitable, even though they have the same feelings of fear. It's just who are the people that are going to let the fear influence their decisions, and who are the people that are going to act boldly despite their fear. That's the line, guys. That's the line. You were the fearless guy. You might hate coffee. You might have had to hustle deliveries. But man, it was really good to go back and see. You know, I know successful Michael now, and not even where you want to be. I get that.
Yeah.
But I see the confident guy. And so to see the guy from back then, to get a glimpse of that guy who is still fleshing this out with no guarantees, to see that mindset, I'm like, yeah, he knew he was gonna win from the beginning. Chris and Andrea could read that. Marty could read that and know, like, this guy's got it. Like, Sarah's gonna interview me and Bab. We're gonna have a conversation and be a better builder in 20, 35 minutes. And she's just talking to me. She's like, we're going to talk about like who to coach and how to coach. I'm like, that guy, that's who you coach. You coach the guy that knows they're going to win and just needs to figure it out. The one that comes to you and is, I don't know if I'm going to win. Of course you don't know if you're going to win, but if you say it, you're definitely not going to win. So you got to know you don't know that you're going to win, but you can't say you don't know. You can't act like you don't know. You can't live your future. You can't run a business. You can't have a strategy that betrays the secret. You got to keep it a secret that you don't know. That's got to stay down in there. It's so awkward, guys. Being an entrepreneur sucks. It is the hardest, most deliciously magical thing that you're going to do. I appreciated this, Michael, a lot. All right, I'll stop the recording.